it's just exciting, in the right sense of the word, that we're all here, and it's a good gathering, really, because I'm always worried who's gonna come. The poets and the artists may, but, so here we are, and, well, John left, but of course I'm thanking John Salters for allowing us to come here and have our event, and, you know, this wasn't my idea. It was Judy's and Michelle's. One time at the Framemakers, we were at an opening, and Judy walked over to me and said, Janet, you're going to have a poetry reading in the garden, in the library. You know, okay, so I went and got on the ball and did what I was supposed to do. And so here we are. Thank you both, Judy and Michelle, and all of you for being here. And Donna, where did she disappear to?
She'll be right back.
Oh,
She
okay.
had to use the ladies' room.
All right. Well, I'll wait till she comes back, talk about her. So here we are, and I want to introduce the poets who are going to read, and I guess since we're going to introduce you now, then you just follow suit when we're each finished, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I thought I would go first. But I want to introduce you to Chris Madden, who is my mate
Hello.
from the English department at Fairfield University, and to Kate, who's right next door to us.
What was her first name? I'm sorry.
Katie.
Katie. Hi,
Katie.
Katie.
Hello.
Yeah, and let's see. No other poets here. Ray. How could I forget Ray?
I don't know.
How could I forget you? Ray Roth, who I met at the Wilton for a poetry workshop, and he told me about his chapter of the Connecticut Poetry Workshop in Wilton, Connecticut Poetry Society Workshop. So I've been going there, and it's been very good for me, as you know, all of us. So Ray is our director, and he kindly consented to come from Weston to read. And then there is Kit Weimer, who's an actor, and he's a member of BRAG. And Chris is a member of BRAG. Katie will be too. So, there we are. And another colleague of ours, Elizabeth Hills, who's also, you share the office with Kate.
With Kate? Yes. So it's the office mates day.
It's the So, well, I don't know, Dawn is still new. But I wanted to read the Thanksgiving Day poem that inspired Donna to paint the picture, which you could see the both together. But I don't, she's disappeared. Yeah,
It's on
she
the
does.
table here.
It's right here.
Janet, do you want somebody to read first?
I was just thinking that, maybe I should
Why don't we move
move
it
it
down
to there.
I can see.
And this all came about
Yes,
by,
thank you.
I think I suggested it.
You definitely
I
did.
did,
And I would have
did.
gone home, and I would have, Britt would have suffered.
Right,
I forgot to say it was Michelle.
right. But that, no, and then she put names in the hat
Yes.
for all of the artists at the meeting. She passed it around. Whoever was chosen had to do a drawing, a painting, illustration of the poem. And Donna, who is very, as you can see, was the winner. So I'm looking forward to having you read the poem. Hello, Mike. She'll be back. She'll be right back.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna let Chris start, and then I'll go after you, and then Katie, and then Ray. Kit, because he'll be the most dramatic. Okay,
And a tough act to follow.
yeah, that's right, exactly.
Oh, wait till you see what I do.
Yes, I did. Spider-Man.
Good afternoon.
They're last.
I want to thank Janet again for inviting me to read, not just here, but I read a little while back at the art benefit. It was a lot of fun. I write poetry and fiction and some other things. I love art. If any of you have been to the Bellarmine Museum on the campus of Fairfield University, beautiful little free museum. If you haven't been, take a detour and go see it. But I often take my students over and have them look at art and write poetry in response to it, ekphrastic poetry. So to me, even though I don't paint, I draw like as my described, a 4-year-old criminal. I really appreciate art. Was that for a class? Great. I could get up to an 8-year-old. So I'm gonna read a couple of poems, and I'm actually gonna read a very a brief short story that's about the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, great.
For another Derby, but it's Derby Day, and it may help you pick your horses. In any case, my first piece is called just a short poem. It's called Cubicle. In my old office, a co-worker called home to sing to her dog twice a day in her operatic voice. It was distracting, odd, and troubling when we had clients on the phone, but it was very funny too. Until the day the police came and enforced the restraining order against her. Only then did we learn, when they let her out in handcuffs, with her makeup running down her face, that her ex had and the dog in the settlement. And it was as if her front wheel had stopped when she went over the bars into quiet. It's a colleague that actually did that. It was a very colorful office. The only part of that happened, but the part was her singing to the dog. So this is a short piece about as a kid I was fascinated with the Mayan pyramids and how they would line up and they could figure out where Mercury was going to be every 27.2 years and around it, which seemed to me like it took a lot of time. It's called How the Mayans Invented Television. You look up the crumbled pyramid steps, colored burnt umber and sienna. All the browns of your acrylic period when you painted rocking horses. One pyramid line, Mercury every certain number of years. It was in the guide, but you forgot specific details about their first public television. Later channels and programs were added, specials for other planets. Each separate building, a different channel with programming twice a year or more, sometimes 10 years apart. Did the Mayans ground their children and not let them watch? Or did they let them sometimes pajamaed and homework finished? At Chichen Itza, the sun lines up on the solstices and illuminates the snake god Kukulkan, the war serpent, in magnificent shadows on the stone. The tour bus arrives a day late, and the sun glares. You hand your eyes and sit cross-legged right up in front, inches from the rocks, and stare at the magnificent test pattern. I didn't think that that's got burnt sienna in it. That's the only color I remember the name of. Okay, this is again a prose piece, but it's for the Derby. So you can ask me which horse I'm picking afterwards.
Which one?
Winners. Perhaps it is an inalienable truth that people will bet on anything. Before Connecticut became home to glamorous and successful casinos, it had OT, highlight, and of course the sport of unrequired lowercase king, greyhound. Only trackless horse racing outlived the casinos. The wicker baskets and funny accents, drop balls of highlight are only a memory. Most of the greyhound tracks are gone, although one or two haven't been plowed and made into malls. The rabbits rust on the rail. But OTB, or off betting, probably still exists like a coelacanth, a prehistoric fish extinct until they caught one in 1938. OTB sounds a little bit like an STD, but it's actually legal wagering on horse races. Norwalk, Connecticut has an off-track betting parlor called Winners. At first glance of the crowd, Winners does not appear to be full of actual winners. The place itself is clean, but still feels sordid somehow. Customers fall into the category of rode hard and put away wet. I'm the youngest customer by roughly 38 years, and they actually have a large print version of the racing forms, at least for the Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. It isn't much of a stretch to think at least a few of these sportive Kings enthusiasts were along the see Man of War dominate the Belmont Stakes back in 1920. The horse names are strange. One sounds like a luxury Dubai hotel, another like an unpopular flavor of donut. One is the same name as the girl who taught me how to tie my shoes in the second day of kindergarten. I've already picked horses using my system. It's actually my grandmother's system, the one she used when she used to take me to Scar Downs in Maine. She took me when I was 10 and was staying with her for the summer. Don't bet the trifecta, she would say. It's as unreliable as the Holy Trinity. Horses with the word supper or glue in their names are not good bets. Skip the quinella. Quinella is something that happens to you after eating tainted seafood. And don't ever bet gas money if your gas tank isn't full. She explained that pari-mutuel bets, the house took a rake or vig, and that basically they were only for people with paralyzed minds. But not us, she would say, we're going to bet smart. The part about bet smart was accompanied by her trademark, and mostly I interpreted it as an item that fell under the category of things not to tell my mother. The part of her system that I really remember and I use is that it's bad luck to tell anyone the name of your horse. I know the name of my horse. I've done my homework and I know him well. I know about his jockey, his trainer, his diet, his lifetime winnings, his nickname. I know that he's a mutter but runs well on turf or dry track. I know the earnings of his mother, father, cousins, and uncles. I think I know more about this horse than I know my wife. I'm ready and waiting in a slow purgatory of the big line. The races always generate a large crowd, and Winners does not have the ability to add 30 or 40 extra staff members to handle the trip crown. What's your horse? The woman behind me says in line. I don't really say to her. I turn around and notice she's smoking, even though there's no smoking in here. No one in line cares. Nobody working here cares. The line is still not really moving. Is that a horse and alternate? I don't see him on the derby. She's looking down at her form. That's not a horse, I say. I mean, I don't tell her what I'm betting on. It's bad luck. Oh, that's just silly, she says. I'm betting on Verrazano to win. I'm a T-bone steak dinner and a pedicure. I just nod. Her hoop earrings are large. Probably for dolphins to jump through. She's maybe the same age as my grandmother when she was first widowed. Something about her is a little bit off and garish, and part of me likes her very much right away. Do you remember Smoking Pets, I say? No, I forget all of the names. He was a Bob Baffert horse, right? Didn't he win the a few years ago? I say, no, it's not a horse. It's a kid's toy they sold at the highway rest stops machines for $0.25. They had monkeys and a dog and little cigarettes, and you'd squeeze them and they'd blow smoke rings. They had all the irresponsibility of candy cigarettes with the added danger of actually having to light matches to play with them. They were a fascinating artifact of an unsafe time that you could pick up along the Jersey Turnpike. Listen, just tell me the name of your horse. Not gonna happen. Like I said, it's really bad luck. I'll hear it anyway when you get to the counter. You're not gonna sink any ships by telling me your horse's name. She's right that you'll probably hear me. I can hear the guy 3 people ahead trying to bet 3 horses in an exacta. The woman behind the counter must be new. She's hitting keys like she's in a Skinner box, but the ticket won't print. A supervisor with a big belt on finally comes over and tells them 2 horses. This causes another delay, and they can't decide whether or not to box the bet. Just tell me your horse, she says. I told you mine, so now you owe me. She's actually starting to get angry at me. She's pointing her cigarette like it's a sword. Glue Factory, I say. I picked Glue Factory to win. She looks at her form. She has the Derby form. I can't find him. Oh, it's a she. She's running the Oaks. I'm just betting the Oaks race. The woman doesn't have the Oaks form. I sort of feel sorry for her. I don't want to be rude, but there's no way that I'm going to tell her the name of my horse. I actually do feel sorry for her when the supervisor with a big belt comes out from behind the counter and yells at her for smoking. Put that out or we'll eject you. The supervisor says, and then repeats it louder. Right now. Who's glancing around for an ashtray. She really looks a little miserable. Like most of us here, this event is a highlight and a departure from the small, mean aspects of everyday life. Getting ejected and not being able to doesn't seem terrible, but it might, maybe not tragic, but it would be sad. I do feel sorry for her. The supervisor's growling again, going to full prison guard mode. Put that damn thing out now. Put out my hand to the co-better and she hands me the cigarette, which I take and dramatically put out on my tongue. I make a yum noise and swish my jaw around and then slip the butt into my coat pocket. I know, I say, all of us are full of hidden talents. The woman and supervisor both look, but neither says anything. After a minute, the supervisor leaves. It's finally my turn. Take a pen and hand a slip of paper to the teller and point to the name of my horse. Race 11 to win. That horse, $10, twice, separate tickets. I get my tickets and hand one to the woman behind me. Good luck, I say, but please, don't tell anyone.
Oh,
All right, next is Katie Eber. Katie's a poet and also writes essays and other things as well. She like a few of us here, is a graduate of the Fairfield University MA program, and writes very funny, entertaining, interesting poetry. So welcome,
Yeah.
Katie.
About the depressing stuff today.
Oh, okay. Katie writes profound, dark, which should be considered.
Yeah, no, I brought the funny stuff today, so thank you for inviting us here. So this first one is actually something I read out of the newspaper, but also something I experienced, and I thought it was just so surreal and funny that I actually wrote a sestina about it, so you're going to hear a lot of and also, I'm not really good at sestinas, so we'll see how this goes.
What is a sestina?
Beesick drained for dam repair. For lawnmower guy. Kayaking early morning on Beesick Lake, my paddles pushing quick, anxious, through weeds and reeds sunk in the bottom muck. In the distance, someone pulls the engine to a lawnmower that roars and echoes off the walls of the dam, reeking in need of a repair. Slowly I came to the edge, saw the disrepair firsthand, the barrier walls holding in the lake, the keel of my kayak scraped the top of the dam, and I felt my heart leaped, anxious. In the distance the man urged on, pushing his lawnmower. I came so close, tumbling over into the brookline muck. I rolled away from the edge of the dam, towards the retiree on his yard, urging tires through muck, until his foot slipped, he fell flat, as the motor careened from control towards the dock half repaired, and the whole thing, as the man watched silently, plopped into the lake. Air bubbled up from spurted growls and now silent amphibious lawnmower. The man jumped into the shallow water, diving for his lawnmower, sputtering as he breathed air. Surface shouting, "Fuck, damn it!" But now, the machine had sunk to the bottom of the lake, settling itself next to car tires at home in Beesick's bed of muck, with no hope of retrieval or engine repair. I paddled away quiet, suppressing a full-blown laugh, my lungs growing anxious. Months later, I read in the paper, anxious, cup of tea in hand, someone found a lawnmower, and the drawdown of water, DEP repair, on the southern end of Beesick, the dam, footprints and boots lost in the muck of the outer ring and junk at the bottom of the lake. I doubled over laughing, not anxious anymore, screaming, "God damn, that's hilarious," thinking of the lower guy's legs covered in muck, and I hope they finish the repairs by spring so I can bring my kayak back to the lake. The next one, I had like a month of this winter where every moment I'd like look up at the stars and it would always just set right on Orion, and I kind of got like hung up on it because it was freaking me out. So this is a long shot little cloud. The weight of the longest day presses down like the forefinger on a pushpin, the tip sliding its way between the skin cells, between the ridges in the flesh of my thumb. The palms of my hands itch from holding the sun too tightly, but if it falls, the whole thing stops and fissures and cracks like ice thrown down on pavement. Gravity calls on all bodies, Newton's laws governing the movements on Earth. Like an apple to the random rotations of stars. Summer shrouds the infinite dispersal of the stars in its candescent length, with evening thunderstorms, with far-off city buzz, with bulbs. But winter, barefoot in snow, I can watch Orion rush from horizon zenith and down again. While I don't have a poem about the Derby Day, today is also Game 5 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Pittsburgh Penguins against the Washington Capitals. I'm a big hockey fan. Was a big hockey fan, I guess. The Oilers have kind of left that big hole in my heart, but we'll see what happens. I know, it's like 20 years actually, which freaks me out a bit, but I don't care. So this is called a Hypothetical Conversation, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Penguins in overtime, 3-2, a one-timer from the blue line. You keep attributing that fact to my not wearing any gold. Because in this city, you say everyone bleeds those colors. Steelers, Pirates, Pens, the city's flag, the coat of arms. And after acknowledging sarcasm that you know the color of your city's flag, I explain in heartbroken detail that in Hartford we still bleed green. I spent interminable months rehearsing this conversation out in soliloquy, with the bickering voices in my head, in verse, in prose, in the shower with a shampoo talk, trying out the most credible reason why I would even be in Pittsburgh on a game night. On job interview, some corporate racket, a long shot, and then you send a text asking for a beer, bar, or restaurant along with my name, just in case you deleted my number or didn't think you'd want me in the fresh that comes standard contract with a brand new phone. But you respond quick, ask how long I'll be in town, and only. And you ask if I want to see a hockey game. You vaguely remember that I was an emotional savant watching some playoff game in your bedroom. Hi, ignoring your gentle hand on my back, which will sound to pass the puck. No high stick. We meet in a bar, some dive, old stools, bar top, good beer, a throwback memory to our scene if we had ever gone on a date. Over lightly stale Yingling pints and a dingy glass, but I don't mind. You're working in some business office, contented but weary, and I tell you I work as a consulting writer, freelance, but I'm a poet first. You raise your eyebrows and a small fissure and your smile breaks, and I don't know if you want to crack about poverty and the arts, but you don't push the subject. We walk in slow paces on the street outside the arena, and it's cool for November, not cold, but I shiver. Pull off your hockey sweater, Crosby, 87, and in that moment I hate you. Unfurls warmth in my hands. Chivalry is small potatoes next to rivalry, I think, but I slip it over my head. The V-neck catches on my ears, the scent of some kind of axe aggressively sending into acrid flashbacks, and I panic. So you wiggle your index finger along the collar until it settles flat on my collarbones. I feel the weight of your arm along my back, and then the wind-chilled, unshaven abrasiveness of your cheek. And it's not long before you ask if I've ever written a poem about hockey, and I say yes. And it's not long after that that you ask, have you ever written a poem about me? And I say no. I'll read two more. This was actually one I wrote with my students this semester. Actually, two that I wrote with my students this semester, and they were really happy to oblige and let me make them and force them to write poetry. This was something that I was really happy with by the end of it. So, Ars Poetica in the Real World. It starts with Mark Strand. Wherever I am what is missing. I collect poetry like the archivist ridiculous museum, or like an old woman with a house full of Russian nesting dolls, each one stuffed inside the other, waiting for a child to come into the sitting room and find glee in opening each one. Words are as valuable as a helium balloon with a thin ribbon tied in a bow around a little boy's wrist, or the boot thumps of a coal miner on his own front steps. The Appalachian Peak behind him, slowly stripped away by corporate interest, and the echoes of communities crying protest. Language is flexible, a path carved through deciduous forests with machetes and axes. As it moves through the sky, mimicking the top-down satellite aerial photography and mapped-out shots of urban sprawl. Chicago or Boston's chaos, New York's methodical blocks. Metaphors are chosen to live in each moment. Like smoke rings released from the tongue, they expand and grow as they drift away, finally dissipating and then part of this atmosphere. Patterns exist in everything, in the complex structures of interconnectivity, in the circuitry of a computer's memory card, and the highway interchange cloverleaf where drivers tend to merge without looking. Last one for our teachers in the room. I asked my students to write from the perspective of a fictional or non-fictional character going through finals week. So this one's called Shakespeare Grades Papers, and it's of course a sonnet. In springtime's glint I sit exposed on terrace sides bathed in rose, with never-ending page, or so it seems, so I engage. With quill a quiver quick and light I struggle toward setting right, and in corrections I desire to help but also start a fire. Toward the end of page I do assess and tally peaks and sweet progress, but a number here I must assign by university design. And in the end my students leave, but away with tools set to succeed.
Thank you.
Thank you both, Chris and Katie. You know, new voices. I knew some of Chris's, but I hadn't heard yours, and I especially like the poem you wrote with your students. Okay. Need all this. I want to start with Thanksgiving Day. This is a very special time for Donna and me because, as Michelle explained, her idea, a hat or a paper bag, and I put in all the artists' names from Bragg and pulled one out by random, and there Donna, and so she was inspired poem, which is Thanksgiving Day. So as I read my poem, I think it's very clear how you can see it really fits. Thanksgiving Day. Trees lean forward. Gray cloaked druids now, guiding us along the highway, sending mute blessings as we glide toward familial arms raised to greet us around the table, laden as if with auspicious offerings, while the sun lowers itself outside the dining room window. That was the image I saw as Bert and I rode to Rhode Island Thanksgiving morning. Suddenly the trees were bare. And it looked like they were leaning over us like druids. Nature is a companion of mine. I find it hard most times not to be able to write a poem unless I have a teacher at my elbow or over my shoulder, because I can then express feelings and my beliefs. beliefs through nature. And so this poem is called Stay Close to Nature, and it was inspired by paintings. That's another form of inspiration for me. And we were at the Metropolitan Museum of Art not long ago, and there was the exhibit of the Edo time of Japanese paintings. So as I read each stanza, you're going to see one of those paintings. I mean, each one. Stay close to nature. Think of time as changes in scenes, but stay close to nature. You move on. Observe a cicada attached to a grape, a part of one another. Know they each will wither white when the frost appears. See a fish as part of a wave as they both leap forward, blue, white together. Walk away before they disappear. One tucked underwater, the other exhausting itself in the yielding sand. Stop before a goose caught in a gasp of a blank yellow sky. One wing pointed upward, the other pulled down in a draft of air. A moment, knowing he will soon vanish among the tall reeds and willows. Follow a secluded path that opens to the startling calm of a lake. A lone man on a boat, until the stir of evening brings a call of mist to conceal them. But keep on, as time changes. Stay close to nature, as if it were a protective wall. Painting. And the call of mist, it could be interpreted as C-A-L-L, but I meant it as C-A-U-L, which is the protective covering that some infants have when they're born. People also are an inspiration. And I happen to always love babies. And we were in Trader Joe's, and I saw twins. They were 7 months old at the time, and I was quite intrigued with them. I hope you will be. I just want to mention that the allusions home are courtesy of Dante, who helped write my poem with me. I have Imperium, which is the highest sphere of heaven for Dante in his Divine Comedy. And I also have Moral Poet, which is Dante, and Threshing Floor from Paradiso, part of Dante. So we're on the threshing floor. Simon and Oliver. I meet them in the grocery store, in their carriage, one behind the other. Their names are whispered tenderness. At 7 months, their blue eyes are lit by a light not even imagined within the sphere of the Empyrean. With their bobbing heads and instant smiles, they float in the immaculate newness of life. They float above what the laurel poet called the threshing floor, what we who above them fail or struggle to avoid. And I don't even want to mention it, but we all know particularly what that's all about, political situation, election time, but no more of that. So I'm going to read 2 more, and one is called Chapin Beach. And the ocean and the beach is another pal of mine. Chapin Beach, Dennis, Massachusetts. Feeding ground. A sediment of meaning stays that replays the scene. That pure cloud afternoon when sleek, soft backs, dolphin waves lifted and tossed us, and wind, always the wind, skewered around us as we walked the long, low tide shore, the wind seeking readers swathed in blankets, mothers holding children wrapped in hooded towels, mothers like Bedouins of the desert coming to see the silver etching up close, birds grazing in the shimmer of a tidal basin, the white bellies of the gulls flashing terns dipping like swallows, black skimmers lighting the pool's pale surface, stirred by the wind that gouges ripples deep in the sand, a sight we grasped to affirm gravity. We too left a pressure, slight but sure. And I'm going to end with my conference schedule.
That'll be interesting.
I'm going to end with a very new poem. It's called Listening to Music. That's another inspiration. When I go to concerts, I cannot sit in a concert unless I take out my notebook and write. Otherwise, I confess, I can fall asleep. I like classical music, but I can listen and enjoy, appreciate more the music if I can see and hear and smell and taste what I'm seeing. So what I'm hearing is what I'm seeing. So listening to music. A serenade sends breezes to stir roses as they move upward on a stone wall. Close morning glories at end of day, hurry ripples along on a lake before night comes. A quartet sends water tumbling down ledges, a cataract to release itself. Wind glancing by and leaving in a huff, rising in a shaft of air. Silence follows, and then applause scatters flowers, water, birds, but they find their places in the theater of my words. So, next, Ray Roth.
I love that last phrase.
Thank you.
First, I want to thank the Black Rock artist people for having this. Wow, there's a lot of people here having this today. I also especially want to thank Janice for inviting me, and I'm really glad workshop. And if anyone here is looking for a poetry workshop, you can talk to me. It's free. So one of the things that kind of intrigues me, I guess, looking through some of the black poems, is the fact that the change really triggers thoughts in us, or perhaps thoughts in us are triggered by, we see something and we, what does this mean, and then we think about it further. It involves change often. So this, I'm from Arkansas, in one of my places where I lived when I was a kid. And this first two poems are going to relate to things from Arkansas. This one is Buying Water. The year that rain failed the Ozarks, Clardy Spring ran cool on State Route 54, the old road to Montanay. Folks said the name, Montanay, was French for mountain water, like Ozark or of the Arcs. The sign above the pipe said, "Help yourself." People drove miles to spring. No mountain water that dry year, dust everywhere. Pastures brittle, leaves falling early, cattle auctioned for want of hay. Clardy's store had good business, knee-high pop, Tom's peanuts, and cans of beans for supper. But mostly folks came for water, jugs, buckets, milk cans, or tubs, or just to suck a drink from the flowing. Hill folk, not a fender without a dent, not a knee without a patch. Years and money flow like water. The road is asphalt now and straighter. Clardy's store has collapsed in a kudzu embrace. The hill above the spring is spread with green lawns and retirement homes. The sign above the spring says, now non-potable. Green lawns necessarily mean green water. This other one is a scene from my childhood where, or young adulthood, changing buses, Arkansas 1956. The almost empty trailways rose out of the Ozarks into the Arkansas River Valley, then follows Alma Road to downtown Fort Smith. A 16-year-old boy, excited to be in the city, by himself and far from home, and a best for travel black woman emerged blinking in the savage July heat. Amid the diesel smell, they stand on sticky asphalt. Old woman, young boy. Lightning flicks the black clouds in the west. Driver points to the Greyhound station. Change for Hot Springs and Texarkana. He drags from the undercarriage 2 cardboard suitcases. The boy claims the one with the taped handle. The woman struggles with tied with binder twine. Gallantly, he picks up both. She follows without a word, 1 step behind. At the terminal, he sets her bag down by the colored door. She touches his sleeve and hands him a dime. Now we move forward in time. This is biking up 2 Mile Hill, which is I ride a bike a lot and I walk a lot. And the hill is not far from here. It's in actually Redding Ridge. A trinity of crows claims the road ahead, pecking at something white. I knew a day-old bread to the birds. Fat crows wait in trees, then follow. He's gone now, the man, dead or far away. But these crows don't have bread. Was a squirrel. The white is belly fur. He's more than met his match, an SUV. The look of it, not just flat, punctuated, compressed, tread like a tire ad across his guts. I pedal near and the crows fly off. Fresh killed squirrel. I could stew it, eat the flesh, gnaw the bones, save the skin, mittens for winter, side in. My hands are always cold, but I'll leave it. Crows gotta live. These suburbs aren't healthy. Dead raccoons everywhere. Maggots writhing and rotting possum, rabid bats, flat toads stuck to the road like gum, chipmunks squashed like grapes on supermarkets' floors, dead deer, leg bones showing, bloating in the sun, green lawns flush with pesticides, and all the butterflies are dead. Rabbits too, I think. Blind rage fills the air, guns everywhere. Something in the water, so they say. It's hot today. Sweat drips, clouds my eyes. Laboring, thighs burning, I near the crest. Here crows perch in trees, watching, waiting.
Wow.
And here we have mouse hunt. We all know about mice, right? So this is part of my experience with them. Never look closely at a dead mouse. It will break your heart. I caught a mouse in a blue trap. Her face was a scream without sound. She strained her feet. I put her in a bag and killed her with a hammer. I switched to snap traps, more honest, less cruel, and more fair. I risked too, smashed fingers, ignored bait, the cheese becoming dry and brittle. Sometimes they fail. The mouse, still alive, drags the trap across the attic floor, back to the hammer. Why kill them? Panthervirus, the electrical wiring, nests that chewed up soft. Or the late night wake up when my wife calls, I hear a mouse. I take the flashlight and sit on the stairs, slam a few doors and rattle hangers. Don't see anything, I'll trap in the morning. It's easier to kill them with poison when fall rains come and the cold and hungry mice in the garage. This morning's mouse was still alive, but sick and dying. It was a decon bait in its cheery yellow packaging. I did not sweep it out of the garage and into the yard, but it to die on the floor. I thought it would prefer dry concrete to cold, wet grass. At least I would. Later, when I returned from a poetry seminar, the mouse was gone. Something dead, my wife declares, wrinkling her nose. She smells. I do. I found the mouse in a corner by the ladder and garden tools. I eased a trowel under it and flung it far across the driveway into the multiflora roses. 4 feet. Goodbye, tail trailing behind like lost hope. Next one will be my last one. And you know, you can get out your notebooks and start to write if you want to. In my Indiana boyhood, pigs were always present. They had a comfortable way with mud, wallowing and grunting, settling in, happy. You could feed them anything. Sour milk, potatoes gone soft, bad apples. True, they smelled like pigs, but you knew that. Nothing to do, you'd go out back and watch the pigs. In those hard times, they were everywhere, prevalent as poverty. You could never make money from hogs, but you got the use of the pig. Some years ago, I visited Indiana with my suburban wife. She loves pigs, loves to look at them, scratch behind their ears, talk to them. We stopped near and watched a lone sow, big sow, gleaning remnants of the corn. She was happy, that hog. Nothing is happier than a hog in corn. My wife was happy too. Pigs cement marriages. Recently, visiting I drove by that cornfield. No pig. No more pigs in that barn. Old barns crumbling, dirt roads paved, pastures now thickets, hog wallows converted to lawns, sweeping around big houses, big cars too. Money everywhere. I'd rather have the pigs.
So?
Very happy to be here today to be part of this. Janet and I go back with this a really long way, about 30 years, I think, when I was involved. I remember the name of that group, but you were involved with it with Nazareth, I think
Yeah,
was his name.
Dale Shaw.
Dale Shaw, Nicholas from Albany.
Yeah.
A few others.
Yeah.
We went around and had poetry readings and had a great time. Will DeSola accompanied us on the bass. It was a great little jam we used to have going there. So,
That's
yeah.
right.
I always wanted to do that again with the bass. Never could find the right bass
You
player.
have a guitar
Yeah.
player here, Steve Gilbert, and
Oh.
you're gonna be playing a little bit right after? Sure. I hope people will stay and please, have some more cookies and, you know, and Steve is a great guitarist, he really fucks soul, so.
I'm an actor and a part-time playwright and an almost never poet. But I did bring something I wrote a few years ago, and it was written in the middle of the when I woke up with a fever, and I just put it down. And have since tried to tweak it and haven't been able to change it. So just the way it came out. And then I'll two very brief pieces. Silent Night. If on a moonlit midnight you venture out to the pond in the woods, thick, clear ice, drawn. If on this night so still the only sounds crisp snow underfoot, white cloud breath, heartbeat, hush. If years before, on the same night, you taught your granddaughters how to move on ice, treasure. If standing still as the night, all sensations sharp, radiant pinpoints overhead, weightless, silence, infinite. If in that perfect moment, attitude, embrace, time and space, you will hear the words, grace. And I'm sure until just a week ago today, yesterday, yes, last Sunday, at a concert where classical music was written and scored to classic poems. There was this Wadsworth Longfellow poem. And it's just nice to be reminded once in a while why these people were regarded as masters. Of this just for its simple elegance for me. The Day is Done by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The day is done, and this falls from the wings of night as a feather is wafted down from an eagle in its flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain and resembles sorrow only as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple and heartfelt lay that shall soothe this restless feeling and banish the thoughts of pain. Not from the grand old masters, not from the sublime whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time. Strains of martial music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor, and tonight I long for rest. Read from some humbler poet whose songs gushed from his heart as showers from clouds of or tears from the eyelids start, who through long days of labor and nights devoid of ease still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have the power to quiet the restless pulse of care and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme, poet, the beauty of thy voice. And the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tents like the Arabs, and as silently steal away.
lovely York home in Longfellow. Well, so, and this has happened, and now is a friend of mine. So it's part of your memory. It's cliche, but it's more than that. And I just hope that we can have more of this, more poetry events. So I thank you all for coming, and I thank colleagues, and I'll call you a colleague.
Be proud.
Yes. And, so, please stay.
We all thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, and Judy, and
I appreciate this so
This
much.
was wonderful,
So
Janet.
Special.
and Donna,
Hope we do this
fusing
often.
art
I loved it.
and poetry.
I loved it too, Janet. This has to, I mean, you have to start giving this thought to doing this.
Yeah.
You know,
But this isn't just a memory.
no, this is not
On
just a
and on.
one shot.
Yes.
If the weather had been nicer, you would have had a much better turnout.
Well, I'm.
No, but I'm just saying, I think a
Even
lot,
better.
I think it would have even been better, really.
Be fun in the garden, though.
Next time.
Next
We
time.
can do one in the summer.
Here we are down in the basement of the library, and it's still wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
Are you
everybody.
gonna say something, Don?
Yeah, just Bill had asked if I was gonna talk about the painting, and,
Oh, definitely.
just want
Could
to
you
say that.
pass it around, because I'm having a hard time seeing it, please?
I'll take it off the
Yeah,
easel.
yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to me, at least, and I just read something at the graphic design pieces show that said, sharing your process is like trying to describe a meal you've eaten. So you'll pardon me if I err on the side of explanation. But we were coming out of a gallery show, and I had seen something that just struck me as what I would like to paint. And I saw it as a long panel, canvas. It was a cutaway of the side of a hill and very straight silhouettes of trees and a sliver of a moon all against a dark blue sky. So this was a painting I had very strongly in my head. And then we went for a walk at the railway walk, and if anyone's in Trumbull, there again is a cutaway. The land comes down, and then they cut this, I guess originally it was a railway track, and you see the side of literally the side of the mountain or the hill with all the dirt and all the roots coming down, and rocks in and out and under. And I had said, oh, that would, second one of this, what I saw as a series. And then when Janet pulled my name out of the hat, much to my delight, I said, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And because I had thought of doing in this, make intended series, one with a sunset. So that's how that came into. And as usual, when you do a piece of art, it's always different than the actual process and getting into it is different than what you're imagining. And if you notice the little bulletins I put on the table, I like lead Walter. I'm very interested in intuitive process painting, where you approach the or paper with no intention in your mind and let things develop. Well, that wasn't obviously the case with this, but because of that training, once things started to happen, I hadn't intended the rocks to be there, but they, as I often said, they if I don't know if you perceive them as rocks, but those purple shapes under the roots, I see them as rocks. And in the next one, I think they'll be more pronounced. I kept wanting to put gray on them, but I said, don't do it. But anyway, it was a very exciting experience, and